What is it about us? What is it about this religion called Unitarian Universalism that makes it different from most others? And I said, all churches and all congregations offer two things. They offer fellowship and they offer worship. But the two are not independent. In most churches, the fellowship comes at the price of the worship. Do their worship and you get their fellowship. Reject the worship and you lose the fellowship. Right? That's just the way it is. And that's normal. The difference in this church is that we provide the fellowship and encourage you to work on your own worship. We support you while you seek your answers. And don't forget, we are encouraged to seek answers. This is not just for community. There is more to it, right? So that was my first revelation, that our religion was distinctly different from any other that I had been familiar with. So I kept digging. The problem is we don't have a book. We don't have the Torah, we don't have the Bible, we don't have the Quran. So I had to dig for myself. And each time I felt I had uncovered a nugget of personal wisdom, I would explain my reasoning and conclusions from the pulpit. So in the rest of this talk, I will present 4 excerpts from some of my sermons. Now remember, these were my personal revelations. As they say, your mileage might vary, it might vary. But my goal is to stimulate some thought. So, fasten your seat belts and let's go. So in the first talk, I was exploring the cosmology of our religion. The cosmology of our religion is its idea of how it fits in the bigger picture of the universe. So I said, this was way back, I said, I will submit that the nucleus of UU cosmology is contained in our 7th principle. Respect for the interdependent web of existence of which we are all a part. I love this principle because it gives itself so well to demonstrate that religious belief can be an extension of knowledge. It does not have to be just imagery. Now, I'm sure that each person in this room understands the web and our connection to it in many ways and at many levels. As a physician, I perhaps have a deeper perspective. What I want to try and do today is to make this connection as real to you as it is to me. So, would all of you please take a deep breath? Come on. In and let it out. So in the past few seconds, from that breath that you took, each of you extracted about 30 mLs of oxygen, about the volume of a big strawberry. That oxygen is already in your bloodstream. As I speak, it is seeping across your capillaries. It is being incorporated into chemical reactions in every cell in your body. Those oxygen atoms that were floating in front of your nose just 10 seconds ago are already a part of you. You are not quite the same person you were before you took the breath. You see, the web has already changed you and replenished you. Another example. Now this one involves some math. I've done the calculations, so just go with me, okay? So each of us is about 2/3 water, 66% water. So a person who weighs 150 pounds has about 100 pounds or 100 pints of water in their body. Every day that person loses about 5 pounds of water in the urine and through the lungs and through the skin, and drinks the same amount to replenish the loss. If we ignore any mixing that happens in the body, and that's a big if, but I'm going to try and keep this simple. If we ignore any mixing that happens in the body, that means at the rate of 5 pints a day, it takes just 20 days to change out all the 100 pints of water in the body. Let me repeat, every 3 weeks, all the water you have in the body today is gone and replaced by water from the web. So let us assume there's 50 people in this room today, right? And let us assume that each of you weighs exactly 150 pounds. So that is 7,500 pounds of Unitarian Universalists. Okay? If every single one of you returns for the Sunday service 3 weeks from now, only 2,500 pounds of you that is in the room today will be coming back. The other 5,000 pounds will be new UUs, made from water from the web. You understand that? I could go on. All the muscle in my body turns over every few months. Even the bone and the brain turn over, they take a little bit longer. The truth is that even though I perceive myself as separate and distinct from the world around me, that separateness is only an illusion. A river of the universe flows through me, constantly dissolving and replenishing my body. Have you seen those little whirlpools that form behind rocks in a fast-flowing stream? You know, those little things? They are so pretty. Each whirlpool has a distinct shape. It seems to have boundaries that define it, that separate it from the water that's its in, that separate it from the river. But is it really separate? Can you pick up a pretty little whirlpool and put it on your mantelpiece? No, you can't. Right? It is part of the river, made by the river and from the river. It has no existence separate from the river. So are we, whirlpools in the river of the universe, constantly changing, dissolving, and reforming. The web not only replenishes us, it connects us in ways that we do not always comprehend. To borrow an example from Alan Watts, and if you haven't read his books, you should. Alan says, think about the bee and the flower. The flower cannot survive without the bee, and the bee cannot survive without the flower. Take one away, and the other will surely die. So are the bee and the flower two different organisms? Or are they two parts of a single organism, the bee flower? The entire web is like that, a complex and dynamic system, the strands of which are knotted together. Plants and animals, microbes and manatees, all living on this earth, each giving life to the other. So, what do I conclude from observing the web in action? I am forced to conclude that the boundary imposed by my skin is an illusion. I do not stop where my skin stops. We are connected to each other by the air that we breathe and the water that we drink and the food that we eat. We are also connected to each other in a million different ways, and the birds and the bees and the flowers and the trees are all links in those connections. So if I believe this, then I have to believe that protecting and nurturing the web should be our highest goal. Because if the web goes, guess what? We all go. Make sense? So that's my first excerpt. So from the web, then I move to religion. I'm still exploring our religion. And once in a while a thought pops out, there goes a sermon. Sometimes I come here and give that. So I said in this particular talk, I said, if I were to be led blindfolded into a synagogue, a mosque, a church, or a Hindu temple, it would take me no more than a couple of minutes to figure out which house of worship I'm in. But I could sit in a UU sanctuary with my eyes wide open for a month of Sundays and still have no clue. What happens in this sanctuary on Sunday mornings does not fit the definition of worship by the standards of most religions. So the question must be asked, are we just faking it? Right? Are we all form and no substance? Do we trivialize worship? And my answer was, we do not. The reason our worship is different from that of others is because we are what I call a second order religion. That's my invention. So what is a first order religion and what is a second order religion? A first order religion starts as the religion of a tribe or a small group of people. It works nicely for that group because it is tailored to meet their specific spiritual needs, explain the mysteries of their world in their times. Most of today's mainstream religions started as first order religions, right? First order religions are characterized by a God who has human qualities but superhuman abilities, including the ability to touch you with one finger and change the course of your life. This God casts a shadow upon the earth. In the most fundamental form of a first order religion, the followers build a wall around this shadow. They live within this wall, always under the shadow of their God. Ardent followers of a first order religion look up to their God. Their relationship to God is vertical, up and down. God superior, humans inferior. Their horizontal vision, their spiritual understanding of the world around them is filtered through that wall. A successful first order religion answers clearly and without hesitation the three questions that most humans ask at one time or another. Where did I come from? What is my purpose on this earth? And what will happen to me after I die? By providing answers to these questions, first order religions have uplifted and comforted billions of people. They have a place. But not everyone is willing to live inside a fort, surrounded forever by a wall. Some of us, including you, one day climb to the top of the wall and they look over the parapet. What do you see? You see men and women and children living out in the open, on the plains with no walls around them. One day you screw up your courage, climb over the wall and join them. Now you find that your gaze, your spiritual vision, is limited only by the distant horizon. But you also discover that the horizon is only an illusion of a limit. What does a horizon do if you take a step towards it? It moves one step away. You realize that the spiritual world is infinite. It is without boundaries. It is a world in which walls are an artificial encroachment. There is more. As you explore, you meet travelers who have trod other paths. At night, you sit around a campfire, exchanging information. You find that some are in agreement with your understanding of this world, but some have different views. They have seen other aspects of this vast landscape. Gradually you begin to understand that this diversity of experience, this diversity of vision is a positive thing. For the experience of others enriches your own. Imagine how little of the spiritual world we would see if all of us walked in a group, if all of us always walked exactly the same path. So that was the second expert. So I talked about the web, and I talked about the fact that we are spiritual wanderers. But not just wandering, we are wandering to seek. And not just seeking, we seek to talk to others so we can exchange experiences. That's why we are here, right? So, I'm still on religion in this one. I still haven't figured with Unitarian Universalism. I said in this one, I've heard many people say that deep down all religions are the same. Not true. All religions have two components, the sectarian and the universal. The sectarian deals with that religion's unique path to salvation. The universal deals with our earthly needs. We all long for justice and fairness, to love and to be loved, to live in peace with others. And so in addition to the purely sectarians, all religions have teachings and beliefs that are universal, the epitome of which is the golden rule: do unto others as you would have them do unto you. So while the universal in all religions tries to deal with the present, the sectarian tells me where I came from and what will happen to me when I die. Questions that precede our birth and prophesize our fate after death. In most religions, unfortunately, the present, the universal, is framed in terms of the sectarian. We are urged to think and to live in a certain way because of what happened in the past and what might happen in the future. But letting the sectarian cast a shadow on the universal also gives justification for intolerance, even for killing in the name of God. Right? We Unitarian Universalists have made a conscious decision to reject institutional sectarianism. Questions about life and death, about the past and the future may be important to many of us. But as a group, as a religion, we make a commitment to place the universal above the sectarian. To live truly in the present. To not let reality be overwhelmed by belief. That's what our principles are about. Now that does not mean that we reject the spiritual. We cannot engage productively with the world around us until we are fulfilled inside. And the spiritual, for many of us, is a necessary part of this fulfillment. We do not reject God. Many in the congregation, our congregations, including myself, have a profound sense of the holy. The difference is we are less likely to say, God, throw down a ladder so I can come up and be with you, than to say, God, come down the ladder and be with me as I do your work on this earth. So, that was the third one. And now that I brought God into the conversation, let's go with that. So this final excerpt is taken from a talk entitled simply God. This is what I said. People have asked me, as I'm sure they may have asked you, how we can possibly function with so many beliefs coexisting in one church? The answer, of course, is simple. You see, it doesn't matter to us whether your roots are Christian or Jewish or Hindu or Buddhist or pagan, whether you're an atheist or a theist, a humanist and agnostic, whatever. The cause is not important to us. It is the effect that we are looking for. Does it really matter what I say I believe? Does professing to be a Hindu, a Christian, or a Buddhist, or an atheist really say anything about the way I live my life? After all, light from the same God can shine on two different people and show two entirely different reflections. Light from the same God shone on Mother Teresa as shown on the monks of the priests of the Inquisition as they tore someone apart on a rack. Light from the same God shone on Mahatma Gandhi and on the man who killed him. They both believed themselves to be devout Hindus. No, I do not become godly by pointing at the light. I become godly by being worthy of its reflection. Every religion, I said, has its book about God. Read our book, they tell me, and you will find God. But in the final analysis, it is of no consequence to me if I find evidence of God in a book about God. The real question, the question that each of us has to ask ourselves is this: will they find evidence of God if they read a book about me? Thank you. So please stand as you are able and willing.